There is a pattern that researchers studying long-lived Buddhist monastic populations keep noticing. These monks do not just live longer. They age differently. Sharper minds at 85. Joints that work at 90. Skin that tells a different story than their birth certificates. For decades, this was attributed entirely to meditation and a low-stress contemplative life. Then someone started looking at what they were actually eating. Here is something almost nobody in the modern longevity industry talks about. The Charaka Samhita has an entire therapeutic category called Rasayana, dedicated exclusively to foods and herbs that slow biological aging. Not metaphorical aging, cellular aging. Telomere degradation, oxidative damage to mitochondria, accumulation of senescent cells. The ancient physicians were targeting the same mechanisms that modern longevity researchers spend billions of dollars trying to identify and intervene in. And they got there first. 2,500 years first. Stay with me, because number 7 contains the compound that India's lowest Alzheimer's rates are now attributed to in modern epidemiological studies. And number 2 was so prized in the ancient world that monasteries stored it for years and decades before using it as medicine for royalty. 10 foods. The monastery's anti-aging pharmacopoeia. Let us get into it. Number 10. Amla. Called Amalaki in Sanskrit, the telomere protector. The Charaka Samhita's most repeated recommendation in the entire Rasayana chapter is this one. Eat 1 amla daily, without exception. Not when you remember, not when convenient. Daily, without exception. This is one of the only food prescriptions in the entire Ayurvedic canon that uses the phrase, without exception. The ancient physicians had observed something across centuries of monastery records. Monks who maintained this single discipline lived longer than those who did not. Visibly longer. Measurably more functional in their later years. Read that again slowly. A specific food, a specific dose, a specific frequency, mandated for life. That tells you everything about how Amla was valued. It was not a fruit. It was the daily insurance policy against cellular aging. Modern biochemistry has now identified why the daily prescription mattered. Amla's primary active compounds are imblicinins A and B. These are vitamin C precursors that are heat-stable, unlike the ascorbic acid in citrus fruits, which degrades rapidly with heat or storage. Clinical data shows that daily Amla consumption protects telomeres from oxidative shortening. Telomeres are the protective caps on the ends of your chromosomes. Each time a cell divides, telomeres shorten slightly. When they become too short, the cell either stops dividing or dies. Telomere length is one of the most direct biological measures of cellular age. Amla also reduces LDL oxidation, the process that turns cholesterol from a benign blood transport molecule into one that damages arterial walls. Before anyone had a word for telomeres, ancient monks were protecting them with a single fruit eaten every morning. 3 ways to use it. Eat 1 fresh amla daily, the traditional non-negotiable, exactly as prescribed in the ancient texts. Take chayawan prash, the prepared amla paste, when fresh fruit is unavailable. This is how amla was preserved and distributed across the entire subcontinent. Combine with ghee and black pepper for full antioxidant absorption. The fat-soluble compounds need fat to be utilized properly. The monks were not guessing at 1 daily. They had counted. Number 9. Ashwagandha Root, the cortisol killer. The Sushruta Samhita classifies ashwagandha as a rasayana for physical rejuvenation, specifically physical. The text distinguishes between herbs that rejuvenate the mind and herbs that rejuvenate the body. Ashwagandha is in the body category, and the prescription that appears across multiple ancient texts is precise. Ashwagandha was administered nightly, in warm milk, before sleep, never in the morning, always at night, always with milk fat. This timing protocol was followed for centuries before anyone could explain why it mattered. Read that again slowly. A specific delivery vehicle, a specific time of day, followed without deviation across generations of monastery practice. That tells you everything about how ashwagandha was valued. It was not an herb taken when stressed. It was a precision-timed intervention into the body's daily stress recovery cycle. Modern endocrinology explains the timing perfectly. The active compound is withaferin A. It inhibits NF-kappa B, the master inflammatory signaling pathway that drives most age-related disease. A 2019 clinical trial measured withafrin A's effect on biological aging markers and found measurable reduction after just 8 weeks of nightly use. But here is the detail that almost nobody mentions. Cortisol, the body's primary stress hormone, follows a daily rhythm. It peaks in the morning and declines through the evening, reaching its lowest point at night. Ashwagandha taken at night reinforces that natural decline. Ashwagandha taken in the morning fights against the body's natural cortisol peak. The ancient physicians had observed the timing through generations of patient response. Modern chronobiology is now confirming that they were exactly right. Before anyone had a word for circadian endocrinology, Ayurvedic physicians had built a protocol around it. 3 ways to use it. Simmer 1 teaspoon of ashwagandha root powder in warm milk for 15 minutes, taken before bed. The exact monastery preparation. Take 300 to 500 milligrams of standardized extract in the evening, never in the morning. Use it consistently for at least 8 weeks. The biological aging marker reduction in clinical trials requires this minimum window. The monks were not just taking ashwagandha, they were taking it at exactly the right time. Number 8. Black sesame. Called tila in Sanskrit, the sirtuin activator. The Ashtanga Hridayam contains one of the most direct longevity statements in any ancient text. He who consumes sesame daily ages slowly. That sentence is not metaphorical. The text uses the same language it uses for medicines that produce specific physiological outcomes. And the ancient physicians specified the variety. Black sesame, not white. The distinction was made clearly across multiple Sanskrit texts. Buddhist monks across China, India, and Japan consumed black sesame paste daily as a recognized longevity practice. Not occasionally, daily, for life. Read that again slowly. A specific food, a specific variety, specified for one purpose: slow aging. That tells you everything about how black sesame was valued. It was not a kitchen ingredient. It was a longevity intervention disguised as food. Modern biochemistry has identified exactly why the monks were right. Black sesame contains sesamin, a lignin with a remarkable biochemical target. Sesamin activates SIRT1, one of the sirtuin proteins that govern cellular longevity. SIRT1 regulates DNA repair, controls inflammation, and improves metabolic efficiency. It is currently the focus of intensive pharmaceutical research aimed at extending human lifespan. Companies are spending billions of dollars trying to develop SIRT1 activators that match what black sesame already does naturally. And here is the detail that almost nobody mentions. Black sesame contains roughly twice the sesamin concentration of white sesame. The ancient prescription was not symbolic. The color difference reflects a real difference in active compound concentration. The monks were buying the right product 2,000 years before nutrition labels existed. Before anyone had a word for sirtuins, Buddhist physicians were activating them through a daily seed paste. 3 ways to use it. Eat black sesame paste, called kurogoma in Japanese Buddhist cooking, daily. Use cold-pressed black sesame oil drizzled on food after cooking. Heat reduces sesamin content. Add whole black sesame seeds to rice, congee, and salads. The seeds remain potent when stored properly in a sealed container. The monks were precise about the color. Modern science is now confirming that they were right. Number 7. Turmeric. Called haridra in Sanskrit, the mTOR inhibitor. Turmeric appears more times in the Charaka Samhita than almost any other single ingredient. But the longevity context for turmeric is specific. The text classifies turmeric as a Rasayana when prepared in fat-based preparations and consumed with consistency over years, not as a flavoring, not as an occasional spice, as a daily Rasayana. Ancient Buddhist monks consumed turmeric in ghee or milk preparations every day for their entire monastic lives. The longevity effect was understood as cumulative, not as a treatment that produced a result, as a daily input that compounded over decades. Read that again slowly. A daily food, compounded over a lifetime, producing observable longevity outcomes that the monastery could measure across generations. That tells you everything about how turmeric was valued. It was not a wellness practice. It was structural anti-aging delivered through cuisine. Modern geroscience now identifies turmeric's mechanism as one of the most studied longevity pathways in human biology. The active compound is curcumin. Curcumin inhibits mTOR, the cellular aging accelerator.
mTOR is the protein complex that tells cells to grow and divide. When chronically activated, it drives cellular aging. Pharmaceutical drugs that inhibit mTOR, like rapamycin, are currently the most studied compounds in longevity science. Curcumin does the same thing through diet. It also activates autophagy, the cellular cleanup process that removes damaged proteins and dysfunctional organelles. Autophagy is now understood to be one of the most important processes for healthy aging. And here is the connection that almost nobody mentions. The rate of Alzheimer's disease in turmeric-consuming Indian populations is the lowest ever recorded in any large-scale population study. This is not a small effect. It is one of the largest documented differences in disease incidence between populations anywhere in the world. Before anyone had a word for mTOR, Ayurvedic physicians were inhibiting it with a yellow root in fat every day. 3 ways to use it. Always take turmeric in fat: ghee, full-fat milk, coconut oil. The fat is not optional. Curcumin is fat-soluble. Always combine with black pepper. Piperine increases bioavailability by 2,000%. These 2 ingredients should never be separated. Use it daily, not therapeutically. The longevity effect is cumulative, exactly as the ancient physicians prescribed it. The supplement industry sells you isolated curcumin in capsules. The monks understood that it does not work that way. Number 6. Triphala, the 3 fruits formula, the longevity gene switch. Triphala is not a single food. It is a specific blend of 3 fruits prepared in equal proportions: Amalaki, Bibitaki, Haritaki. This formulation is the most prescribed combination in the entire Ayurvedic canon. It appears in more than 60 published clinical trials, and it has been the nightly practice of Buddhist monks for over 2,500 years. Not a course of treatment, a nightly habit, for life. The monks took it dissolved in warm water before bed. The taste is intentionally unpleasant. The ancient texts state that the bitterness is part of the medicine. Read that again slowly. A formulation that tastes terrible, taken every night before sleep for decades by communities that produced more centenarians per capita than the surrounding populations. That tells you everything about how Triphala was valued. It was not a digestive supplement. It was the monastery's master longevity formula. Modern pharmacology has now identified the mechanism. Each of the 3 fruits contributes a different active compound. Amalaki provides vitamin C precursors that protect telomeres. Bibitaki provides gallic acid that inhibits mTOR. And here is the most extraordinary finding. Haritaki activates FOXO3. FOXO3 is the longevity gene that has been identified in every human centenarian population studied. Okinawan centenarians, Sardinian centenarians, Loma Linda Adventists. Every long-lived population shows elevated FOXO3 activity. The gene was not identified by Western science until the early 2000s. Buddhist monks were activating it through a fruit blend 2,500 years earlier. Before anyone had a word for longevity genes, Ayurvedic physicians were turning them on with a nightly drink. 3 ways to use it. Take 1 teaspoon of Triphala powder dissolved in warm water before bed, the exact monastery preparation. Use it consistently for life. This is not a course of treatment. It is a maintenance practice. Combine with ghee for enhanced absorption of fat-soluble compounds. The traditional preparation included a small amount of fat. The monks were not just supporting digestion. They were activating the most important longevity gene in human biology. We are halfway through. If this is changing how you think about aging, subscribe right now. We post every week. The longevity videos go even deeper than this one. Now, number 5. Gotu kola, Centella asiatica, the triple collagen herb. Buddhist texts describe Gotu kola as the herb of enlightenment and long life. But the ancient prescription was startlingly specific. 3 leaves, daily, for life. Not a handful, not a cup of tea.
3 leaves. This precision is unusual in herbal medicine. Most prescriptions give ranges. Gotu kola does not. The Sri Lankan Buddhist chronicles document multiple monks who lived past 100 years following this single discipline. The herb grew beside the monastery wall. 3 leaves were picked. 3 leaves were consumed. Every day. Read that again slowly. A precise dose, prescribed without variation, followed by communities that produced documented centenarians. That tells you everything about how Gotu kola was valued.
It was not a wellness ingredient. It was a longevity protocol with pharmaceutical precision.
Modern analysis explains the mechanism. The active compound is asiaticoside. What makes Gotu kola medically extraordinary is the triple collagen action. Asiaticoside promotes type 1 collagen synthesis simultaneously in 3 tissues: skin, joints, and cerebral blood vessels. This is the triple anti-aging action that no other plant on Earth replicates. Most collagen-supporting compounds work in 1 tissue. Gotu kola works in 3. Studies in elderly populations show measurably reduced cognitive decline and improved skin elasticity after consistent use. And here's the detail almost nobody mentions. Higher doses do not produce stronger effects. The collagen synthesis pathway saturates. The 3-leaf prescription was not arbitrary. It was the dose at which all 3 tissues respond optimally. Before anyone had a word for type 1 collagen, Buddhist monks were optimizing its synthesis in 3 different tissues with 3 small leaves. 3 ways to use it. Eat 3 fresh Gotu kola leaves daily if available. The traditional and most bioavailable preparation. Use 500 milligrams of standardized extract if leaves are unavailable. This approximates the active compound content of 3 fresh leaves. Take it long term. The collagen synthesis effect builds over months, not days. Patience is part of the protocol. The monks were precise about 3 leaves. They had counted, and they were right. Number 4. Pomegranate. Called dadima in Sanskrit, the mitochondrial restorer. The Charaka Samhita classifies pomegranate as a top Rasayana fruit. But there is a specific clinical use that appears across multiple texts. Pomegranate was prescribed for elderly monks experiencing fatigue, weakness, and decline of physical vitality. Not for general nutrition. For age-related decline specifically. The ancient physicians had observed that this fruit restored something in older bodies that other foods did not. They could not name what it was. Modern science finally has. Read that again slowly. A fruit prescribed across centuries specifically for the symptoms of mitochondrial dysfunction, before anyone knew what mitochondria were. That tells you everything about how pomegranate was valued. It was not a fruit. It was the monastery's energy restoration medicine. Modern biochemistry has identified the mechanism with remarkable precision. Pomegranate contains punicalagin, which is converted by gut bacteria into a compound called urolithin A. Urolithin A triggers mitophagy. Mitophagy is the targeted cellular elimination of damaged mitochondria, allowing healthy mitochondria to take their place. Healthy mitochondria are now understood to be the single greatest predictor of biological age. Damaged mitochondria are the primary driver of fatigue, cognitive decline, and physical weakness in aging. Pomegranate, through urolithin A, removes the damaged ones. Researchers now call urolithin A one of the most promising anti-aging compounds ever identified. And here is the detail almost nobody mentions. The pomegranate rind, the part that almost everyone discards, contains higher concentrations of punicalagin than the seeds. The ancient texts specified the use of the rind for medicinal purposes. Modern studies are confirming that the rind contains the highest concentration of the active compound. Before anyone had a word for mitophagy, Ayurvedic physicians were stimulating it with a fruit, including the part most people throw away. 3 ways to use it. Eat fresh pomegranate seeds and drink fresh juice. The whole fruit is the original prescription. Dry the rind and steep it as a tea. This is the most concentrated form of the active compound. Use it consistently for at least 8 to 12 weeks. The mitochondrial benefits build with sustained intake. The monks knew there was something restorative in this fruit. Modern science has finally named it. Number 3. Shatavari. Asparagus racemosus, the hormonal time reverser. The Charaka Samhita designates Shatavari as the premier Rasayana for women. But here's the detail almost everyone gets wrong. It was prescribed to monks of all genders. The herb's reputation as a women's tonic obscures the broader use that the ancient physicians documented. Shatavari was given to elderly monks of both sexes for hormonal preservation, for bone density maintenance, for skin moisture, for the prevention of the systemic decline that accompanies age in any human being. Read that again slowly. A single herb prescribed across both sexes for the systemic preservation of hormonal balance into advanced age. That tells you everything about how Shatavari was valued. It was not a women's herb. It was the monastery's universal hormonal preservation tonic. Modern endocrinology is finally confirming the mechanism. The active compounds are saponins called shatavarins. Shatavarins are estrogen receptor modulators. This is significant because they do not increase estrogen. They modulate the activity of estrogen receptors, allowing the body to maintain optimal hormonal signaling even as natural hormone production declines. Clinical studies confirm anti-aging effects in the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the central command system for the entire endocrine network. Bone density is preserved, skin moisture is maintained, sleep quality improves, cognitive function is supported, and here is the detail almost nobody mentions. The benefits compound with daily use over years. This is not an acute intervention. It is a long-term hormonal maintenance protocol. Before anyone had a word for estrogen receptor modulation, Ayurvedic physicians were achieving it through a single route. 3 ways to use it. Take 1 teaspoon of Shatavari powder in warm milk daily, the classical monastery preparation. Use it consistently for at least 6 months to evaluate the full effect. Shatavari works slowly and cumulatively. Combine with ashwagandha for a complete HPA axis preservation protocol. The 2 herbs were often paired in the monastery. The Charaka Samhita prescribed Shatavari to monks of all genders. The reason was hormonal preservation, and the modern endocrine evidence is now confirming it. Number 2. Aged ghee. Called Purana Grita in Sanskrit, the epigenetic eraser. The Charaka Samhita designates a specific category of ghee as the most powerful Rasayana in the entire Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia. Aged ghee. Stored for years, not weeks, not months, years, decades in some cases. The text describes ghee aged for 100 years as the supreme medicinal substance, reserved for treating royalty and the most serious illnesses. Ancient pharmacies kept dedicated storage vessels of ghee that had been aging for generations. When a king fell ill, when a critical court figure needed neurological support, the aged ghee was retrieved. Read that again slowly. A food, intentionally stored for decades, treated as the most precious medicine in an entire civilization's pharmacopoeia. That tells you everything about how aged ghee was valued. It was not butter. It was the monastery's epigenetic medicine. Modern biochemistry is now beginning to explain why the aging mattered. Ghee's primary medicinal compound is butyrate, a short-chain fatty acid. Butyrate is one of the most studied compounds in current epigenetic research. It activates HDAC inhibition, a mechanism that reverses epigenetic aging markers. Epigenetic age, distinct from chronological age, is now considered one of the most accurate biological measures of how old your body actually is. HDAC inhibition is currently the target of multiple pharmaceutical companies developing anti-aging drugs. Aged ghee delivers it through food. And here is the detail almost nobody mentions. The aging process concentrates butyrate and develops additional bioactive compounds not present in fresh ghee. The chemistry actually changes over time. The monks were not just preserving the ghee, they were intentionally transforming it. Before anyone had a word for epigenetic age reversal, Ayurvedic physicians were storing the medicine that achieved it for decades. 3 ways to use it. Use ordinary fresh ghee daily if aged ghee is unavailable. Even fresh ghee provides substantial butyrate. Source aged ghee. Ghee aged 6 months to several years from traditional Ayurvedic suppliers when possible. Take ghee by the teaspoon as medicine, separate from cooking. The medicinal use is distinct from the culinary use. The monks aged ghee for decades. Modern epigenetic research is finally explaining what they were doing. Number 1. Moringa, called sahajan in Sanskrit, the complete anti-aging food. This is the entry that ties this entire list together. Because moringa does not target one anti-aging mechanism, it targets all of them. The Charaka Samhita's description of moringa as a complete nutritional food has proven to be one of the most precisely accurate statements in the entire ancient text. Modern analysis has now confirmed. Moringa contains 92 documented nutrients, including all essential amino acids, which is extraordinary in any plant food. It contains superoxide dismutase, an active enzyme that directly neutralizes the free radicals that drive cellular aging. It contains chlorogenic acid, which regulates blood sugar. It contains isothiocyanates, which activate the body's master detoxification pathway. Buddhist monks across South Asia consumed moringa leaves daily as a primary food. Not as a supplement, as food. Read that again slowly. A single tree, 92 nutrients, all essential amino acids, active anti-aging enzymes, consumed daily, for centuries. That tells you everything about how moringa was valued. It was not a vegetable. It was the most nutritionally complete plant food on earth, used as the foundation of monastery longevity practice. Modern biochemistry confirms every aspect of the ancient use. Superoxide dismutase, the enzyme moringa contains, is one of the most powerful endogenous antioxidants in human biology. Most plants do not contain active enzymes that survive digestion. Moringa leaves do. The combination of complete amino acid profile and active antioxidant enzymes makes it unique among plants. And here's the detail almost nobody mentions. The seeds of the moringa tree, when pressed for oil and applied to skin, deliver a topical anti-aging effect that the ancient texts describe in detail. The leaves, the seeds, and the oil are all medicinally active. The ancient monks used every part of the tree. Before anyone had a word for endogenous antioxidant systems, Buddhist physicians were supplementing them with a tree growing in the monastery garden. 3 ways to use it. Add dried moringa leaf powder to food or warm water daily, the most accessible form. Press moringa seed oil and apply topically to skin, the traditional anti-aging skin treatment. Use the leaves fresh in soups and stir-fries when available. The fresh form preserves the most enzymatic activity. The monks called it the miracle tree. Modern science is confirming that the title was earned. Aging is not something that happens to you. It is something that happens in the absence of the right inputs. The monks who designed these Rasayana protocols were not guessing. They were observing. They were documenting. They were refining their findings across generations of patient response. Modern geroscience is finally arriving at the same coordinates, 2,500 years later. Every food on this list has a mechanism. Every mechanism has now been identified in modern research. And the protocols that work are the protocols the monks already knew. The monastery was running a longevity laboratory. It just looked like a kitchen. Drop a comment below and tell me which food surprised you most. Subscribe and hit the bell. We post every week and we are just getting started. The next video goes even deeper. You do not want to miss it.